and I realize the step forward you're taking to assist in this effort. And you've been around education for a while, I think.
Yes.
And I think you probably understand what school boards do, what they're supposed to do, what they're empowered to do, and what their oversight responsibilities are.
Yes.
What do you think about that? Has your board done what they have had the authority and the responsibility to do over the years?
I would say that sometimes we get deceived on people that we think we know, and we think they're handling what they need to handle, not to put anyone down. But I think they now know that even if it was me, they need to check behind me. And I believe they will do that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, thank you, and we certainly appreciate the heart and spirit and athletic achievement of a lot of the community here, but certainly the engagement of your community is appreciated, and we are glad that we had a chance to hear from each of you. Thank you.
Thank you for having us today.
Madam Superintendent,
Yes.
may I offer one brief comment?
Okay, I'm going to ask my. Yes, I suppose we have a sign-up list that at some point we really needed to cut off, and we understand that this is a public hearing that does not have a limit to the time those who signed up can speak. If we can have assurance, I don't want, when you've driven all the way, for you to be denied an opportunity to speak. So I would certainly welcome you here for a brief moment.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, Board. My name is James Albert Campbell, and I am a resident of the Grant Goodland District. I'm the owner of a fair amount of property and a taxpayer in that district. So I feel I'm a stakeholder. I'm also a graduate. My father served on the school board for over 30 years. He was there when integration came. He was there when white flight came. He was there through shortages of every kind. And so this school means a lot to me. Now, as a property owner, as a taxpayer, when I learned of what had happened or read our auditor's report, I can just sum up, if you have any question of what happened at Grant, I can sum it up very quickly. It was, we were robbed. We were robbed. Now, when we heard the auditor speak and run through, there was a great amount of anger, and there was standing room only. But I can tell you that there was also a great amount of guilt, personal responsibility, because many of us stakeholders, many of us alumni, many citizens, many voters were off living our lives, making a living, and had taken our eyes off our beloved school. I can tell you, when we heard the findings of the auditor, we felt like we hit rock bottom. But there is no better foundation to build on than rock bottom. And quickly, in 30 days, a team was put together. Ms. Holloway stepped up, parents stepped up, teachers stepped up, students stepped up. And we came together, and we have faith in the team that's assembled. But I want to offer this board assurance that your eyes, the eyes of the SDE, are not the only eyes that's going to be on the educators, the administrators, and the board. Because we have produced some tremendous athletic teams. We know a thing or two about teams. We all, as a team, we have to work together for a common goal. We also have to be strong enough that if someone's not pulling their weight, they get cut. And I can assure you, the board, that if anyone is not cutting their weight, that there is a constituency of that district who are now reinvigorated, who are now awakened, and who now know that something like this that has happened can never happen again, ever. And so I've had a chance to read recommendation by Superintendent Hoffmeister, and I find that although it does create some burdens to local control, I feel that it's fair. I feel that it balances the interest of the children, of the taxpayers, and it protects the integrity of our common education system. So I would ask you to accept those recommendations. Let us prepare a detailed plan for 2016-17. Bring it back, and let us not only keep the school open, but make it a better school. And so I thank you all. Now, I understand the weight that you carry every day. I understand the importance of this, not only to our little school, but to the whole state. So I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your service. So thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, now we would like to call David Kenny, our General Counsel for the State Department of Education, on 9B. Okay.
Good afternoon, Superintendent and honorable members of the board. We're here today on an agenda item for this board to take some supervision and implement some oversight on the future of the Grant Goodland School, at least for a period of time. Before we start with the agenda item, let me kind of update you from the last meeting, and some of this has been brought to bear by the presentations. The local school board member that was mentioned in the audit has resigned, and a new member has been appointed in his place on March 21st, and that was done here. The audit made recommendations to the local board. Yesterday afternoon, I received a document from the school outlining the steps taken to implement those undertakings, if you will. I find them to be in good order. I think they're making progress on fixing the problems that were identified in the audit, and I commend them for what they have done so far, and I would hope that they would continue to progress in the future on those members. 4 of our members from the State Department of Education went and did a full-day inspection at the school. They found things, if you will, that needed to be corrected. Some of those things have been corrected. Some of those things have not been corrected, and we're waiting on those. But I think they are making progress. This is it's a tough spot. Today's my birthday, and this is not real. This is not really the type of party I was expecting to be present for. But it's a tough spot, and I think they've shown willingness to make progress on this. I think you can just look around the room here and see that there's people committed to doing this. There's also things more than money that are wrong with this. There were files that should have been in a locked that were out in the open and not all together, and they weren't complete for IAPs. The child count wasn't current when we went down there. Students in the preschool class composed of 3rd and 4-year-old students had no certified teacher. They had 2 teaching assistants, but no certified teacher.
May I ask if
Sure.
you would, for the board, just remind the board of child count and what that means when you say that that was not up to date? Or maybe if
It wasn't
Matt
current.
was here.
Well, I mean, it wasn't current.
Matt Holder,
Matt Holder, yeah, I can probably do a better job than I can on that.
for context
Sure.
for your remarks, would you just please explain to the board what that means, that the child count was not accurate?
Each year, special ed requires our schools to submit child count, which basically lets us put weights to it that we do our state aid funding formula, and that did not, the numbers that had been submitted did not match what they found whenever they went to the school.
Was
Did the audit pick that up?
Whenever they went down and looked through
No,
the
he's
files.
talking about
No.
the financial
Financial
audit.
audit.
No,
Financial
no,
audit.
they did not. No,
Did they not?
That-
They didn't
that's
pick
not
that up?
that's not something that they look at.
they look at the financial piece?
They look at more the internal controls and the central office financial pieces. Not,
By what factor was it off?
I do not know how much it was.
It wasn't current.
It just wasn't current.
It just wasn't
Okay.
current. It
Well-
changes based on count.
So then it wasn't correct.
But it will-
Yes.
That's correct.
What factor?
We don't have a number.
I don't have a number in this report, I'm sorry. I can find that out.
How often is that updated?
That's done in October, and they have to submit that data to us, I believe, by December 1st.
So theoretically, we could have another 100 districts in Oklahoma that are off? I mean, how do you track it?
They do audits through our special ed department, through our special ed division. They actually do audits on a regular basis throughout the state. This school just hadn't been audited at this
When
point in
would we
time.
have gotten around to Grant?
I don't know where they were at on the list. We don't do every school district every year. There's a rotation. Yes, well, it's a rotation. They all get.
Rotation.
Thank you.
Wait, is that a state funding or a federal funding issue?
Actually, both.
Be both.
Both, would be both.
Would be both. Those they get.
So this is a violation of federal.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, but,
I got one other question.
I'm trying to get out here quick.
The problem that Mrs. Franks is addressing is that you have to certify these numbers to
Yes.
someone, and so you're certifying the wrong numbers.
That's correct.
And the superintendent was the one that actually has to certify, saying that those numbers are correct.
The superintendent who's no longer there.
Yes.
That's correct.
And how does this not affect the state aid per student?
It does.
It does.
It does.
And so without audit, at least starting there and verifying that your state allocation is, how do you issue an audit report when that number, that base number is not, that's a major number for the,
It's
should be an audit procedure, should it not?
I don't think it's part of the audit report. I mean,
The allocation comes from the State Department of Education.
Yeah,
To
but
get
it's
the numbers
established.
from there, and that establishes the budget for the district for the year.
Yeah.
And they don't go back behind what the State Department allocates.
right.
Yeah, but the number's established from the superintendent.
Yes.
And
That's
that
correct.
number should be verified as part of the audit process.
Part of
Because
the
the
State
gen-
Department's
It's
process.
Yeah,
part
that's
of it,
part of
and
the
that's
State
where our
Department's-
special ed
Yeah, that's
division
what our
goes up.
that number
Sure.
shouldn't be off.
No, it should not. And
It
that,
should be one number for
The,
each
Right.
school district.
sure. And the superintendent, like I say, has a tremendous amount of responsibility to verify that information is correct and signs off.
signs off on it that it
that
is
is correct.
Because we allocate $3 billion a year based on that number.
That's
Yes.
correct.
We're talking about 120 students. Was it off by 5, by 10, by 1?
I will find out for you. It's not in my report.
Whether
I mean,
it's significant or whether
I will find
it was
that
an
out.
oversight.
I will find that out for you. Algebra books that were 15 years old were found being used that are out of print, and they have to be replaced on Amazon or eBay. A special ed van was being used by Ms. Keeling for her personal vehicle and used with funds that weren't appropriate for that. I think that has been fixed by one of the contractors that have come in to help clean up the books. But there are, and I guess all of this goes back to money. I mean, you know, we focused last month on money, the financial audit, but the repercussions of that is that other things fall through the crack when you don't have money. And when you've got hundreds of thousands of dollars that weren't used to educate youth and were used for personal services by people that were in authority to take care of kids, then things like this happen. And there's more than just lack of funds problems. There's a problem with the operations, if you will, and that's pretty easy to see that flows through. They couldn't produce an inventory of the equipment that was at the school. You know, we need that. I mean, that's one of the things they need, and that's one of the things we're waiting for. That being said, my purpose today is to appear before you and to ask you to provide oversight. And in your packet, there's some conditions. There's three things that we can do today. We can insert a superintendent to serve, and that's not a recommendation that I have today from the department. Have oversight from a tribe. That is also not something that we've done. The intervention that we're looking for is to develop a corrective action plan. And the overall emphasis that I placed on this when I drew these documents up is to get students through the current school year. There should be no reason that this school cannot function to the end of the school year. It would do no good for us to close them down, and we're not here to close them down today. That's not an agenda item. So that's off the table. On the table is a plan going forward, and that's what I have proposed. There are, under the revised plan, there are 6 corrective action plan items that I am proposing. All encumbrances shall be provided to the State Department of Education for review at least 5 days before they are presented to the local board. Bank statements for all accounts of the local board shall be provided to the State Department of Education on a monthly basis. The treasurer's report shall be provided to the State Department of Education for review at least 5 days before it's presented to the local board. State Department pledges to continue to send personnel to the school to provide assistance. I think we're always willing to do that. We've done that in early March, and we will continue to do that. By May 1st, we are looking for an action plan from the local board on what the calendar year 2016-17 is going to look like. I mean, what is your vision for doing this? There's lots of things that need to be improved. This is a school that for 3 years has not had a passing rate on the test, end of year test. You know, so that's part of what we're looking for. Yes.
Could, on item 5, could you bump that to June 1? Because it's almost April 1. I mean, I'd rather have a good detailed report than them rushing it in 30 days when school's still on.
There are some timing issues for going forward. At that point in time, that only gives us whenever the June meeting is before the next calendar year begins. The new fiscal year will begin July 1st. And yes, I agree with what you're saying, but does it give us enough time to look at that also? Do we want to have 5 days before the next?
Has the district agreed to your 6 points?
They have. I mean, Laura.
Mr. Keating, the information that was originally posted as of this morning on the agenda and the handouts for this item did not included a deadline of July 1, and that was doable for the district. It also did not include what is now being required, which is that the plan has to include a discussion regarding voluntary annexation with annexing districts if applicable. I think that's impossible for this district to do in a month.
Okay.
There is no way to go out and search for other districts that are willing to take this district through annexation to even begin to explore those opportunities.
Not even Hugo?
Huh?
Not even Hugo?
Well, you've got one, but if they say no, then you got to go start looking elsewhere and what's reasonable. And I'm sorry, most of you, I think, were all here last month when Gage was here, and they tried starting in September, and they're just now having an election in April to do an annexation. So that takes time to go through that process, and I think that this is an unreasonable time frame for the district to do that if what the State Department's looking at is these kids starting school because they've been annexed to another district in August. And that's not enough time even to get a resolution to the state superintendent to call for an election that can't be held for 60 days. So I think that what the State Department's looking at is having this district annexed somewhere before school starts, and you're too late in the game to do that.
That's not true.
And if you are for the purposes of calling for an election, it has to be done in time that otherwise this district's obligated to the teachers after the first Monday in June by law.
I wouldn't look too deep in my crystal ball.
Okay.
There's nobody here that's talking about anything like that, or that I'm aware of, nor do I see it in the recommendation, that there's some tie here to doing something other than what's in the recommendation.
Well, that which includes voluntary annexation.
It includes a report from the school on how that would work if that decision were to be made. Now, if you don't want to do that report, that doesn't mean the decision's not going to get made.
Well, I don't see that as what's being requested in the language, but if the State Department or the State Board clarifies that, I would be happy to
There's
listen.
nothing to clarify. We're asking for a report from the district.
In the plan that the district submits has to be a discussion regarding voluntary annexation. Okay.
Where's that?
It's 5.
Oh.
And I want to thank Laura for working with us. As I said last month, this is a lot of moving parts, and there's been a lot of people that went out of their way, the CPA firm, the board council, to get us to where we are today. And I think that's important to putting something together that's going to work. We're asking for the plan by May 1st. We're also asking that those items that were identified by the State Department of Education at their March 7th visit also show signs of how they're going to implement the ones that haven't been done. And I will say they've done a lot up to this point in time, but a lot of those have been fixed. There's still some things to be fixed, just like most of the things in the audit have been fixed that were identified.
Thank you. Any questions, board
Just a
members?
comment. I certainly have no objection to any part of the administrative order. You know, the responsibility to see this fixed is not at this table.
Absolutely.
The responsibility to see this fixed is right here. And if you guys don't incorporate this guy back here, your local business guy that cares about your school, you're making a big mistake. Number two, I would kind of focus my efforts on just demonstrating how you're going to do academically. I don't care about your gymnastics team and your football team. You know, I'm a college football player. I got all that. That's not what this is about. It's not about sending kids to OSU to be playing basketball. That's not what it's about. So you better come on, you know, with that fairly strong. And then I'm looking for the steps that the school board is going to take to do oversight, which is their responsibility to do. And if they're not willing to do that and demonstrate how they're going to do it, I'm really not too interested in going past that. They've got to step up and take responsibility. And I applaud what you guys have been doing to date. You know, it's good. I know you're trying. How it's been this way for this many years, I don't know. But you got to focus on it pretty darn hard. And it's not going to be easy, and it's got to be done fast. Just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Then, just to be clear, we do have a Action item, possible action for full state intervention of Grant Goodland Dependent Schools as defined and described in the recommendation. On the table if there is a motion.
I make a motion that we adopt the State Department of Education's plan for our Grant Goodland plan through the end of this school year.
We can do it for up to 2 years. This can be implemented, this intervention can be for up to 2 years.
Yeah, but this
These items go, yes, that's
for
correct.
2 years?
No, but I mean, the oversight can last for up to 2 years.
Okay. But mainly, we're adopting a plan that
That would
you're
be fine.
recommending with the idea that it's up to y'all to take control of it, and the future is up to y'all. But it includes education as well as athletics.
Well, did we set a date certain on the intervention last month?
It would be today. The intervention would be
So
immediately
you're
today.
recommending what?
Well,
A year, 2 years?
I would think we would want to do it till at least the end of the next, to the 16-17, end of the 16-17 school year, so until July 1st of 2017.
And we can always end it sooner if
Exactly.
That's correct.
Right.
It's no longer needed.
But statutorily, it's 2
I
years.
mean, if they have a good plan and it looks good, I mean, I think they've got a year to be under intervention, and then at that point in time, we can make a decision.
So we have a motion to approve for full intervention. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Keating?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan?
Yes.
Ms. Franks?
Yes.
General Baxter?
Yes.
Superintendent Hoffman?
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. Now at this time, we are on item 9C, discussion and possible action on proposed administrative rules. And I'd like to call our Assistant General Counsel, Lori Murphy.
Good afternoon.